Good.
Hey everybody.
Welcome,
Hello,
welcome,
hello,
welcome.
welcome. Let's see who's going to
Intro
be first.
Introduce
First
yourself
in the
officially.
chat.
Good to see
Seeing chat. Oh,
everybody.
there we go. Columbus, Ohio. Indivisible, Central Ohio. Hello. All right.
Good.
Nicholasville, Kentucky. Cape Cod, Ann Arbor. The Caldwells. Peekskill, New York. Santa Rosa, Chicago. Western North Carolina. Oh, now it's going too fast. It's going too fast now.
It's
Um,
no, it's going appropriately fast. This is it.
Going so
This is
fast.
it. This is the best part because we just kind of ride the wave now, and everybody can see and get this kind of impressionistic sense of exactly how big this movement is.
Yeah, well, it's big. It's big. There are about 3,000 people on the call as of this minute. More joining as we let them in. Let's see,
We'll get through. Well, let's
Tupelo.
give it another 30 seconds, Leah. I know people are going to keep on joining, and that's okay. We've got a lot to get into.
Hmm. Wow. Okay, Ithaca, University Place, Washington, Port Orchard, more North Carolina. Hey, North Carolina, y'all.
Thanks for all the emojis. Love to see y'all here. Leah, why don't we jump in? And folks will
Sure.
note, Leah is not with me in our traditional place because she is traveling, but we will be together on Saturday for No King's Day, obviously, and can't wait to get into it. If you are brand new here, welcome. This is What's the Plan with me. I'm Ezra and
Me, I'm Leah.
great co-founders of Indivisible. Um, and why do we do these? We do these because we are at a time of autocratic breakthrough. That's what the experts say. We see Donald Trump not just pushing forward a right-wing agenda, we see him systematically attacking the pillars of liberal democracy, businesses, media institutions, nonprofits, universities, you name it, if there is some threat to his centralization of power, he's going after it. And what we know from the experts of authoritarianism is when you are living through a moment of autocratic breakthrough, there is something you can do. You can organize peacefully among your fellow Americans to push back. And in fact, that is the thing that works. That is what we know works. And that's what we're doing here. If you are here, you are part of this pro democracy movement and we're excited to be here with you. We are a group-based movement. The unit of action for Indivisible is not the individual, although obviously there are a lot of individuals on this call and in indivisible groups, but the unit of activism is the group. And that is for strategic purpose. We believe that groups are how we aggregate power. It's how we wield power. It's how we demonstrate to institutions and those in charge that we are here and there will be consequences if they don't listen to us. They will lose their power. They will lose their election. They will lose their support. So there are thousands of indivisible groups all across the country who are organized by people like you, people who are here. So if you're brand new, you should find one of those indivisible groups. And there are new ones every single day. Every week, Leah, we do this. I expect to find out that, okay, it's tapered off. There are no new indivisible groups. We've got, a couple thousand all across the country. We basically covered the land. And yet, every single day, there are new indivisible groups. This week is rather busy, so I have not done as deep a dive on the 40 or 50 or so that have joined in the last week, but I'm just going to call out some really quickly, and I'd like everybody on this call to welcome these new indivisible groups and their leaders to the movement. We've got blue states, we've got red states, we've got purple states. Amy with Indivisible Oahu in Kailua, Hawaii. I think y'all got a statewide convening next month. We've got Jessica with Indivisible Lopez Island in Washington, also have a statewide convening next month. Liz with Indivisible East Texas Alliance. Jeffrey in Texas. Jeffrey with Brockton Indivisible in Massachusetts. Roger with Greenbrier Valley Indivisible in Lewisburg, West Virginia. In Virginia, we've got Indivisible Mineral County, Nevada. Sorry, Virginia with Indivisible Mineral County, Nevada in Hawthorne, Nevada. That was a little bit confusing. Sorry, not to confuse y'all. We've got Heather with Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, Indivisible in Apache Junction, Arizona. Janice with Biloxi, Mississippi, Indivisible. Vicky with Rogue Indivisible in Grants Pass, Oregon. You get this sense of this isn't just in blue states. This isn't just in the biggest city centers. The folks who are organizing right now are organizing everywhere, and we're proud to be in this movement with y'all. Leah, do you want to talk a little bit more about, as we do, how these calls go, what the purpose is, how we run them, and then we'll get into it?
Absolutely. All right, yeah, folks, if you've been here, you know the drill. This is mostly Q&A. We'll do a little bit of opening framing for you, and then we'll spend most of the time on Q&A. Some of it is live, some of it we have gotten in advance, particularly from group leaders. If you are wanting to ask a question, you put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your toolbar or on your toolbar below your screen. You can upvote the questions that you want to see answered. We are going to pull mostly from the top, although we'll try to like mix it up to make sure that there's a variation. There's some variation we get to different topics. Um, so vote if you like, if you want to get to see something answered. Also indicate if you are a member of a local Indivisible group, just because we like that and it's nice. Let's see. So this will be recorded, so it will be sent out afterwards. So if you miss it or if you want to watch it again, you can watch it again. We're also going to take all the links that we put in the chat and send them out to you. So if the chat is going too fast, it's okay. You will get the links afterwards. We are going to keep doing these as long as people find them useful. We are continuing to grow in size. There are now over 5,000 people on the call today. So it seems like we'll keep doing them for a while. And then finally, the chat goes fast. There's a lot going on. We're all dealing with an unbelievably frightening and painful and scary time. It is easy for emotions to run high. We ask that folks keep the chat constructive and caring and supportive and respectful of each other. We are going to build this movement together, and we got to model that and model our values in the chat.
Great. Thanks for that, Leah. So, one note, we have been welcoming for some time a special group of people who I've seen a lot more from this past week, Leah. It is our MAGA infiltrator friends. So if you are on this call, what you will find is we organize out in public. That's the way you organize a pro-democracy movement. And when you organize out in public, sometimes there are MAGAs who show up too, and they like to post little clips or pictures of us. I would assume some of them are on the call. I've seen some, Leah, can I just say some very cute pictures of you and to a lesser extent me
I know.
on
Well, they're
Twitter.
using they're using all the pictures from 2017, so we're 10 years younger.
I
So
know I had so much more hair and so fewer
I
bags
know.
under my eyes.
I
But
know.
thank you for advertising those pictures. They're calling us communists and stuff too. But I like to see remind myself of my youth. But I would expect right now to see an uptick of that. We're headed into the single largest day of peaceful protest in recent American history, and it turns out the right wingers, some of them don't like that. So just a note for those who in the chat, if you see somebody acting oddly or trying to instigate behavior, they might be trying to instigate certain behavior from you, and you should be alerted to that. But if you are a Trump voter, I say this every week, if you are a Trump voter who is pissed off because you want to lower prices of bread and instead you're getting this heavy dose of fascism, welcome. We are organizing against this monstrosity of an administration, and we are building a big tent that might not agree on everything, but can agree on we don't want this, and we're going to push back against it. I want to make a couple notes before I hand it off to Leah, who's going to cover an email that you wrote that was just brilliant and very well received, Leah. But a couple of quick notes. One, next week, I said this last week, we do these calls every Thursday, and we've done them for months and months and months every Thursday. Next week is an exception. Thursday is Juneteenth, is a federal holiday. People all across the country are taking off, including the Indivisible team. We want to respect that holiday, especially at a time when Trump is attacking people of color and Black communities in particular all over the country. We're keeping Juneteenth sacred, but we're not skipping what's the plan. So plan to join us at 3 p.m. instead next Wednesday. Next Wednesday. So instead of June 19th, we will be doing Wednesday the 18th. The following week, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time program. So just put that on your calendar. If you try to tune in at 3 p.m. next Thursday, you will not have a Zoom to tune into. We will not be there, but we'll see you Wednesday instead. Second thing I want to plug right at the get-go. There are a lot of questions of, we're all showing up for No King's Day, but then what? I want to put on your calendar one specific then what. On Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, so this coming Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, there is the post No King's Day Zoom where we talk about here's what comes next and the next plans. We would highly encourage everybody here to let people know that that is what we're doing. We'll be working with a lot of partners to seamlessly transition into the largest single day protest in recent history into persistent action on the ground. And we'll talk about that more on Monday, and we can talk about it more here too. Okay, Leah, those are my announcements. Now I do want to turn it over to you because you had that brilliant email that went out this week, and it was a Medium post on the strategic logic of organizing right now in this moment. Do you want to cover some of the high level points that
Yeah.
you're making with there? A lot of people have brought it up to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was about kind of like why are we doing a protest right now? And it was, it was a reaction to some questions I've seen. I've heard this question in good faith from folks both within our movement, within the broader ecosystem, and really wanted to try to get down on paper like what time we think it is on the authoritarianism clock and why we see kind of a mass protest like No Kings is so important. And so I'm going to step back and say, as Ezra mentioned, we think we're in this period of autocratic breakthrough, and we we talk about that as like a very specific thing. It is a period when a would-be dictator, having having seized power or having taken power, moves very rapidly to consolidate their own power, to push their formal authorities to the max, to crush alternate sources of power in society that might play some role in checking them, to chill dissent across society more generally. That is what it is. It is a race against time in some ways because the authoritarian is trying to consolidate power before the combined weight of everything that they're doing, because a lot of the stuff is quite unpopular. The combined weight of everything they are doing drives the formation of a pro-democracy coalition that is capable of collectively organizing to check them. So it is a race. They're moving fast. A really important part of this is creating this projection of strength and this aura of inevitability. It is creating for anybody who's making decisions about whether to go along or to push back the sense that he's going to win. He's going to take over. He's going to be in power for a long time. You got to go along to get along. You got to, get in with the authoritarian in order to secure your position, your safety, your institution's role, et cetera, et cetera. You see this with Mark Zuckerberg immediately after the election. He's like, well, I'm a MAGA now. Surprise. And he just, pivots immediately. You see that with Jeff Bezos. You see it with a bunch of different businesses like Target dropping their DEI policies. They're trying to collectively signal, okay, we're on the side of the winning coalition. You see it with higher education institutions like Columbia, law firms like Paul Weiss. And those are the ones that are kind of the high profile examples, but this penetrates across society. There are so many different people and institutions and entities that are currently, afraid to do something they might have done a few years ago because they know that there is a real risk of retaliation. And that collective chilling means that so much of the fabric of American society that is supposed to be checking this assault on our institutions, assault on our norms, this attacks on the rule of law, they're not doing the things that they need to do to collectively push back. And so that is what the aura of inevitability does. Now, what our job is to do is to create for people the sense that, oh, maybe it's not so inevitable. Maybe actually this guy is overreaching dramatically and he is going to get pushed back by an enormous number of people and he is going to be massively unpopular and discredited. And sooner or later, the pro-democracy coalition is going to prevail. And that introduces into everybody's calculations like this different factor of I actually have to make decisions that allow me to live in that world too. It lets people who want to be courageous, and it means that people who are just making decisions based on who they think are going to win, they have to consider that the pro-democracy coalition might win. So that's the kind of like place where we are at, where we are disrupting the aura of inevitability. That is not going to look like one single thing. It is not one march. It is not one tactic or strategy. It is going to look like kind of a beautiful diversity of different efforts. It's going to look like the boycott of Target. It's going to look like protesting Elon Musk at his Tesla dealerships until he concludes that, oh, this government thing is not worth the headache. It is going to look like individual acts of resistance. I shouted out the Georgetown law students who created a spreadsheet that was just tracking who in the law community was moving to comply with the Trump administration so that people could organize to shame them. It is going to look like federal workers saying, or employees or National Guard folks, whoever saying, no, I don't want to do that. That's unethical. That's illegal. You're going to have to fire me. It is going to look like a lot of people doing things that we will actually never know about, right? It's the like unnamed bureaucrat who is slow rolling something that they know is not supposed to happen. It is the students and professors organizing to bolster their university to push back, everything in between. In order for those folks to do that and take the courage,
They have to feel like they are part of this movement. They have to feel like we might win, because that is how this works. Courage begets courage. As folks say, courage is contagious. Now, a rally does not, again, do all of this in one day, but really, really big moments collectively, they can do a few important things. They make us feel like we're part of a community, right? They give us a sense that we're actually part of something much bigger than ourselves. They create onboarding and recruitment opportunities to get people into sustainable, ongoing relationships, and they help to spread that sense of courage. I can tell you, I heard from a lot of people about how hands off created the conditions for them to push a little bit harder wherever they were. We believe with no kings, we have the opportunity to do that again. And of course, this is kind of the general rationale. This is what we were thinking weeks ago, because this is our understanding, but it's important for me to be really clear. The events of the last week have made it more important than ever. Folks understand, I think this, but I want to just take the lens back a little bit. There has been an enormous and terrifying and just jaw-droppingly cruel escalation in ICE raids around the country over the last couple of months. Stephen Miller has been personally demanding from ICE quotas of detainments that are just kind of jaw-droppingly large. ICE has responded by, well, I mean, just to be clear, ICE has never been particularly in control, but they've responded by going completely out of control. They are targeting anywhere where they can find people. They are going to works or Home Depots to pick up people who are trying to work. They are lurking outside of immigration courthouses to detain people who are just going about and doing it trying to go to their appointments. They're going into schools. They're going into, they're setting up checkpoints. They are spreading enormous amounts of fear. They are ripping apart families. They are taking communities, or they are going into communities that do not want them, and they are ripping people apart and scaring the shit out of folks. That is the context in which we found ourselves as of Friday, when David Huerta, the president of SEIU California, was thrown to the ground, badly injured, tear gassed for protesting peacefully at an ICE detention effort, or an ICE raid in California, in Los Angeles. And what we've seen over the next few days has been this classic combination of this administration using the immigration agenda to shoehorn and build the authoritarian agenda. They have manufactured chaos in order to send in the National Guard, in order to Trump to flex his would-be power, in order for him to crack down on dissent for all of the rest of us. This is exactly what they do. It's the divide and conquer politics, where they think they can go after one population of people in order to come after all of us. We have to recognize that for what it is, and we have to collectively stand together. No Kings is, it was started with an understanding in general that this had to be a moment where we all collectively stood up. And now it's even more important, because this is the chance to say that we stand with Los Angeles, that we stand with California, that we stand for our democracy and for our neighbors. And we are not a country that has kings, and we will win.
Okay, we will win. Leah, do you have something to introduce that might be an inspiring video of some sort?
And I have a video that expresses that feeling in a more concise fashion.
Great.
Every day across this country, something powerful is happening. People are rising for each other, for democracy, and for our collective freedom. We have chosen not to live in fear or let division destroy this country. We believe in something bigger than ourselves and the promise of freedom and justice for all. But now, our rights and our freedoms are under attack. We can point fingers, or we can take action. This spring, millions of us united for one of the largest peaceful protests in the history of the United States. Together, we told Trump and his billionaire administration to keep their greedy hands off our healthcare, our veterans' benefits, our public lands, our rights. Courage is contagious, and now we're taking to the streets again on Saturday, June 14th for No King's Day. While Trump wastes tens of millions of taxpayer dollars on a military parade for his birthday, acting like a wannabe king, people in every state have organized over 1,800 events in their communities to uphold democracy and protect our rights. People standing side by side for the future we all deserve. We don't do kings in the United States. We believe power belongs with the people. Join us on Saturday, June 14th. Go to nokings.org to find the protest near you.
Doesn't that rock? Isn't that great? I saw that just for the first time today. Indivisible, our team worked with We Stand United to put this just absolutely incredible video together, and it was the production team at Human. So that's not us doing it. These are incredible volunteers. These are folks who decide, hey, I've got to do something. I've got this skill set. I can create videos like this, and they put it together. It is just, I'm moved. I'm moved, and I love to see it. For folks who are saying, hey, where can I get that? Can I get that? We'll send it around. It's already on Blue Sky. We posted it. I saw Mark Ruffalo posted it too earlier today. So it's making the rounds. But if you wanted to post it to your own social media, we want to get it to you to send it out and build momentum. I am going to correct a little bit of an error in that video before we get to Q&A because it mentions that there are 1,800 events all across the world. That's not true. That is not true. As of today, there are more than 2,000 No King's Day protests all across the country and all across the globe. The vast majority of these are in blue states, red states, purple states, rural areas, red districts, blue districts. It's everywhere. But we're also spread across 17 countries. 17 countries are holding No King's Day protests on Saturday. Some of those countries that do have kings, Canada, Great Britain, they are holding No Tyrants Day protests instead, but they are participating and they are on the map. So, y'all, I'm moved. This is enormous. When we launched this about 5 or 6 weeks ago, there were 100 events. We didn't know if people would show up. When Trump started overreaching and escalating with ICE and sowing discord and threatening the protesters around the country, it was an open question if people would step back or step up. And overwhelmingly, what we have seen is people are stepping up. The numbers have skyrocketed since this past week, and hundreds of new events went on the map since this week, and hundreds of thousands of new people have registered for these events since the weekend. This is the place to be on Saturday. It's not in downtown DC, where you can easily find a hotel room and where there are some reports that they're looking for seat fillers. That's kind of this stupid, pathetic event. What's really happening in the world on Saturday is the single largest demonstration of peaceful people power this country has seen in some time. And we're just so honored to be part of it with y'all. So with all that said, sorry, we took a fair amount of time up with intro, but we're going to get into questions. There were a couple of group leader questions that came in ahead of time that I'll intersperse with the questions that are coming in live. If you haven't seen the questions that are live, click that Q&A, start voting, and let's get into it. So Leah, the very top question that we've got from Betsy with about 500 questions. It's been brought up that the Proud Boys or Patriots are planning on infiltrating some of the protest rallies. So folks are talking about using a sit-down technique to make certain that no one engages and or provokes any sort of police reaction. At the ACLU training the other night, it was suggested that this might not be a wise response. Individuals have different needs, and not everyone might be capable of just sitting down, and also might not be able to exit the area quickly if tear gas, etc. Thank you for bringing this up, Betsy. We've done a lot of calls with group leaders over the past several days, Leah and I, and this is a question that's come up. Other folks have identified that they're seeing more Proud Boy activity. We've also ourselves seen this action on right-wing media like Twitter. You're seeing more activity focused in on Indivisible or focused in on No King's Day. That's normal. This is what we saw in the lead up to Hands Off, just to say. So I think we should, I want to answer this question and we should take seriously the threat, but also we should take seriously that threat while planning for the kind of boisterous, fun, empowering, peaceful protest that we saw on Hands Off. I don't want people scared off thinking they've got to get in full riot gear in order to attend one of these events. These are going to be fun events. People are going to bring their dogs. People are going to bring their kids. Grandmas are going to show up. People are going to dance. People are going to laugh. There are going to be hilarious signs. That wrapped in the flag and a sense of patriotism, that's what these events are going to mainly look like. But with that said, Leah, specific thoughts on this tactic and overall how we're thinking about public safety de-escalation for the events on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So really quickly, and I'm seeing people in the chat like self-correcting on this. This is I think as with many situations, like some of the safety advice is going to be like it depends on the situation and what you're trying to do. Sitting down can kind of like highlight if there is aggression coming from the police that like it's like, you know, kind of cast it into relief. However, as folks are pointing out, it also makes you more vulnerable in relation to tear gas or pepper spray. And it also, you know, obviously not everybody can sit down, not everybody can move very quickly, you know, so it's not necessarily like there's not a single like perfect way to handle a situation like that. And I think the biggest guidance that I would have is just like, you know, attend our mass call tonight, where we'll talk about safety and de-escalation protocols in more detail, and also just, you know, be attuned to and follow the directives of your organizers. Um, More generally, though, I do really want to emphasize Ezra's point. Like, we are collectively gathering in peaceful protest. We are anticipating having family-friendly and joyful and fun events. We are anticipating having folks enjoy the incredible experience of being together with a lot of people who are where you are and who are organizing and building power together. And, you know, if you've got people who are considering coming or not considering coming, we want them to feel like they might be missing out if they don't go.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
let's try and tap into FOMO on this one, y'all.
It's going to be fun. Like, mainly it's going to be fun. People are going to
Yeah.
build community. It's going to be a good time. If you're looking for something to do Saturday, why not exercise your First Amendment rights and be with some friends and family? The next question from Ellen was the same question. So moving on to Cindy's question. This is a question we've also gotten from some groups in this week. If Trump declares the Insurrection Act, does it go through the courts to determine if it was quote unquote legal to act? How will we mobilize if this happens? Will we still protest? The same question for martial law. I think, Leah, we covered this in the
Yeah.
group leaders call yesterday, both with everybody and with the California groups. I do think there's something that's been unhelpful about the conversation about the Insurrection Act, and actually about many of Trump's actions, which is this sense that it's a binary. Like Trump either is an authoritarian or he's not. Trump either totally disobeys court orders or he doesn't. And I think we're seeing this with the Insurrection Act as well. Trump has not he's not used the Insurrection Act explicitly. He has mobilized the National Guard. He has mobilized the Marines, and he is sending the National Guard without using the Insurrection Act to apprehend Americans in LA, quote unquote, temporarily. That's something that shouldn't be allowed if he is not using the Insurrection Act. And yet, here's what we see from Trump repeatedly. He goes up to the line, he takes a step back over it, and then when he gets pushed back, he steps back and says, "No, I wasn't doing that. That wasn't me. I wasn't disobeying a court law. I wasn't engaging in unconstitutional behavior. I wasn't doing something illegal. No, 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 no. That's not right." So the question of what happens if he uses the Insurrection Act, it's what happens that we're in right now. He is overreaching. He is engaging in illegal and unconstitutional behavior. But I want to be clear, there is nothing Trump can do to take away your constitutional right to freedom of speech and to organizing peacefully to petition your government. And if, in response to threatening actions by this or any other administration, the public decides not to exercise those rights don't exist. They do not exist. If they only exist when they're not under threat, they don't actually exist. It is very important in this moment when he is saber rattling at our rights that we say, I'm sorry, I'm an American and I'm exercising my constitutional right to freedom of speech and to peacefully assemble and petition my government. That is a basic right that you are guaranteed. So I don't care if Trump does or does not use the Insurrection Act. I don't care what military he calls out. You have the right to peacefully assemble, and we should use that right. That doesn't mean it's risk free. It's not risk free now. It wouldn't be risk free under those scenarios. So we should be aware of that. But we should not back down because what he is doing right now is testing the limits of his power. And if we send the message that, yep, he can step over the line this much, the line moves. And he'll keep on moving the line with every additional action. Leah, any other thoughts on martial law or Insurrection
No,
Act?
go for it. You
Okay.
got it.
Okay, so moving on to the next. Leah, I'll let you take the next one. Question
Mhm.
regarding national action and Fox News takedown. I've been a satisfied customer of the Tesla takedown. We've done our job admirably as a collaborative team effort without any violence. I've seen recently another movement staged at Fox News locations, and they're being referred to as the Fox News takedown. Very appealing. Is this an action that Indivisible would support nationally? Is this something to take up with the local Indivisible groups? Annette, what a great question. And it's kind of anticipating some things that we've been talking about. Leah, do you want to talk about some of what we've been talking about internally?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so just a general framing on this, like Indivisible historically has not done kind of corporate campaigns per se, and that is not because we don't think they're good and important. It's because there are other people who are good at doing them, and our comparative advantage has been really kind of like the core Indivisible organizing model in relation to elections and advocacy. Um, with that said, we recognize right now, in a moment when there's just been this total collapse around corporations and there's this like active set of enablers that are fueling the right-wing power ecosystem, that this is a really important set of tools. And so, one thing that I would say on Fox News versus the Tesla takedowns or versus protesting Elon Musk. Now, we supported folks to protest Elon in relation to his role as a federal government employee. The Tesla business model and the Fox News business model are pretty different, right? There's a physical site where Tesla dealerships are. Tesla is, fundamentally it's a consumer facing brand, and it's a consumer facing brand that appeals to, liberals. Fox News consumer base is obviously not necessarily the same set of people. I have seen a few different versions of campaigns targeting Fox News. I would be super eager to see anybody who's got like a theory of like what does an effective action around Fox News look like? I have not seen the Fox News takedown theory of the case, so I'd have to look at it. But what I would say in general is it's been an ongoing challenge to try and think about like what actual levers do you have in relation to an entity like Fox News, an entity like, Truth Social, an entity that is fundamentally kind of powered by support from a right-wing consumer base.
I would make this broader than Fox News. The
Yeah.
problem is not Fox News. The problem is the entire corporate legacy media ecosystem. If you look at
That's
what
true.
they are covering right now, they are often not covering the peaceful organizing of hands off. They are often not covering the organizing that we've been doing for months. The number one question Leah and I got when talking to journalists in November, December, and January was, well, the resistance is dead. There's not going to be an opposition. How does it feel to have failed? Like that was the basic orientation of the corporate legacy media. And look, we had our national convening a couple weekends ago here in DC. We had 300 or 400 Indivisible group leaders, and we had a panel on the media ecosystem. And Lee McGowan, politics girl, an incredible new uh, media star. She's got she's a creator. She's got her TikTok. She's got her Instagram. She's got her podcast. And Aaron Parnas, who is very big on TikTok and newer media uh, platforms, said very directly that media ecosystem, that's dying. What you're seeing are the last gasps. So we can focus on Fox News, but I think Fox News is a dinosaur. It's a particularly big dinosaur, but it is also a dinosaur. So the way we have been approaching this is not how can we fix Fox News to make it better? It's how do we invest in a free and independent media ecosystem that actually covers reality and doesn't bow to either the authoritarians or to the corporate class. And so that's why what you'll see from Leah and me is from this week is a ton of time investment in talking to these new and emerging media sources. I can't tell you how many podcasts, how many creator interviews, how many conversations we've had with all of these new and emerging leaders in this space. I think that's where we actually reach new people. I think it's very important for us to give them our attention. We want them to have more eyeballs and eardrums focused on them because they're covering the real deal. I just did an interview with Midas Touch yesterday on an update of the New Kings podcast or No Kings protest, and it got 200,000 views in like an hour. Like they are reaching people, but we've got to adopt it. So if the only place where you're getting your news right now is an MSNBC or a CNN or a New York Times or a New Yorker, look, I'm not telling you to stop watching those. I think Rachel Maddow does an incredible job of covering the protests. So I don't think we'd throw the baby out with the bathwater, but we should challenge ourselves to identify new sources of information out there, because if we rely on the existing sources, we're not going to reach new people, and we're not going to get the coverage that we want. Um, and I think maybe it might be time to re-up our list of, recommended new media sources. We put this together, we've crowdsourced this before. So I'll make a note to try to follow up with folks, because there are a lot of good ones out there that can, like I said, The Contrarian, Midas Touch. We've got Politics Girl, we've got Aaron Parnas, we've got Keith Edwards. There are a lot of folks who are interested in covering this conflict that we're in with authoritarianism right now, and we should help them do that. Okay, Linda's next question. It turns out, Leah, we answered the group leader questions in the course of this already, so we can just focus on the
fabulous.
democratically voted
Great, let's keep
questions.
going.
Yeah, we could keep going. Linda asked, what do we do about Padilla? For folks who aren't paying attention or who just didn't cover because this all just went down, Alex Padilla, the senator from California, was just apprehended and handcuffed at a briefing by Kristi Noem. At that briefing, Kristi Noem said, and this is a quote, "We are not going away. We are staying here to liberate the city from the socialists and the burdensome leadership that this governor, the leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country, and what they have tried to insert into the city." That is a wild statement from the federal government about the second largest city in the United States of America. That is a wild, wild statement. And Senator Padilla spoke up and then was directly apprehended and put in handcuffs. He has been released so far. But Leah, what are we going to do about this?
We're going to get really, really, really mad is what we are going to do about this. I mean, look, this is outrageous. It's horrifying. It's disgraceful. It's also, I think it's important to note, not an accident that
Yes.
the members of Congress, the senators who have thus far experienced the harshest law enforcement repression are people of color, from LaMonica MacGyver and Ross Baraka in New Jersey to Alexander Padilla. It's all part of the same divide and conquer agenda, right? This is horrifying, and it is part of a broader set of abuses of power, retaliations, attacks on individual lawmakers and members of the Democratic opposition that collectively are why we got to go really, really, really big this weekend. Now, again, one protest, not going to fix everything, but them getting away with the stuff they have attempted to do over the last week without massive popular reaction everywhere in the country, that is a huge problem. And so fundamentally, I don't have enough information about what is happening with Senator Padilla. I am sure we should be also organizing to support him directly, and we will have more on that. But right now, what we need is big outrage everywhere as fast as we can, and that is Saturday. It may well be earlier than that if you are in Los Angeles or California.
He's been released so far, so
Good.
we're
Okay.
for more information.
Okay.
The other thing I think we need, in addition to outreach, is we need promises from Democrats who are seeking our votes that there will be accountability. Kristi
Yes.
Noem is an apparent sociopath. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't diagnose her, but she's behaving like one, it appears. She's behaving as if she is drunk on power and that she will face no repercussions for her actions. That's true of Trump and many of his lackeys. What I want to know is, what are the investigations going to be on January 4th when we retake the House of Representatives? Who is getting a subpoena? When are the hearings going to start? Who is going to lead them? I want guarantees from Hakeem Jeffries and from other House and Senate leadership that that is going to be a priority. And if we're going to get those guarantees, we need to start talking about it now. We talk about this a lot. We need to talk about how the era of accountability is inevitable. It is coming. And that's not just because I want to see that in January. It's because I want people who are behaving badly now to understand there will be consequences. But they're not going to understand that unless we say there are going to be consequences. So let's encourage our Democratic allies to start talking about the hearings and subpoenas and investigations that are coming. Bless you, Leah. Okay, next question. Susan Singer asks, is Indivisible working on a plan to help us organize protests on 4th of July? It feels imperative to make big noise that day, an opportunity not to be missed or wasted. We've talked about this a few times. Leah, do we have a standard take on July 4th?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's come up years, multiple years in the past around, is July 4th an opportunity for mobilization? Every time we've come back to, it's not, somebody might organize something great. It's not going to be a place where we go big. And that is for some pretty simple operational reasons, which is that a pretty hearty percentage of folks who are those local organizers who are making things happen are on travel, they're on vacation, they're with their families, they're at barbecues, right? And so it's a little bit of it's a lift that presumes people's availability who may or may not actually be available to throw in during that moment. Now, 4th of July is an excellent opportunity to get your message out in a bunch of other venues, right? Is there a 4th of July parade happening in your town? Do you have an elected who's going? Do they want to, do they want to comment on Medicaid cuts, et cetera, et cetera? So it's not to say that it's not a good opportunity to think about creatively about what's happening, but it hasn't been a priority for us to organize around. And I'm just going to be honest, I think we're really throwing a lot of our team into June 14th. I know there are people all over the country who are doing the same. We don't try to kind of stack big mobilizations back to back on top of each other, just from kind of a sustainability of the grassroots core perspective.
Yep. So look for your 4th of July parade, especially if you have a squishy Republican in the House or Senate who you can push. That's a good opportunity to get to them. But planning a big old protest, Leah, we have tried in the past. It has not been the most successful date for organizing. Christine asks, how should we work? This is a great tactical question, and it's something that that folks around the movement struggle with because we've got a big tent movement, right? We've got never Trump Republicans. We've got even former Trump voters. We've got civil rights groups. We've got grassroots groups. We've got environmental groups. We've got lefty organizers. We've got democratic socialists. It's a big tent group right now that's saying no kings. And Christine, so this is the context for Christine's question. How should we work with other groups who also come out to the protests but are much more radical in their language? For instance, abolish ICE, abolish the police. Should we let them use our microphones? Is it worse to try to sideline them if we aren't comfortable with them, or is it better to include them?
Yeah, so I'm gonna offer an answer that is maybe not helpful for the next 24 hours of planning this event, but is kind of the longer term answer, which is, uh, I think the first part of this is really about the relationship that you have and building of the relationship before you get to the moment where we're debating who gets the mic and for how long at the rally, right? Because the, we do want that big tent, right? We want success over the next few years involves us being in relationship with and organizing and actually building some trust with people to our left who we disagree with, people to our right who we disagree with. Okay. That's not necessarily how we've always thought of our role. And also it is what the moment calls for. And it is in fact a test of how serious we are that we're willing to really lean into that, even when it's challenging. So I would say the first piece of this is really about kind of what is your relationship? Are you working together? Should you be deepening that relationship? What do you want to collectively achieve together? And then, at that point, I would mostly lean into an orientation around what is the purpose of the event? Can we collectively land the overall message of the event, recognizing that different people are going to come with a different story of why they're there and what leads them there, and that might involve different policies. That's okay as long as we can all collectively, land that meta story of what brings us together.
Uh, what's the quote from Maurice Mitchell from Working Feelings Party, Leah? If you're organizing in a room where everybody agrees your room's too small, that's the moment
Yeah.
we're in right now. We should be
Yep. We need to be
challenging
in a bigger
ourselves.
room.
We need
That's
to
right.
be in a bigger room. We need to be in a bigger room. It's all fine for us to go into our smaller room once we have a democracy where we could debate about our preferred tax policy or education policy, but we've got to get there first. Next question is from Eric, building on these events of the last, hour with Senator Padilla. He noted that there were security goons at Noam's event, and it's unclear if Padilla was being arrested or detained, or if he was physically injured. And so here's the question, given these developments, what guidance and direction do we have for quote unquote common person protesters and dissenters as we head into No King's Day? If we encounter rogue law enforcement officers, executive branch security goons, some of these pardoned January 6th criminals, um, what is our recommendation? And I would first of all say we have a lot of recommendations in the trainings that we've been providing this week, all of which have been recorded. So Leah and I can give some high level advice, but I would highly recommend, if this is something you are worried about, you should get the full training so you are as prepared as you can be headed into Saturday, and don't just rely on a 15-second response from me and Leah. So I can commit to following up to this meeting to send out those training materials so you can dig into some of the just very practical advice that's included in the de-escalation training or the marshals training or the public safety training. Leah, is there anything in particular you would want to add beyond? Please go look at those trainings. That's why we've offered them. Yeah.
I think no, I think the trainings are good. I think fundamentally, again, we are building big nonviolent movement spaces that are community spaces that are for as many folks to make folks feel welcome, that are intended to be, a space for joy and for engagement with each other. One of the things that these folks do sometimes is, if they can make you feel like you shouldn't go, then they don't even have to, that's part of the playbook too, right? So I really just want to stress, like, again, I would lean into the community piece of this. I would, like, obviously reaffirm wherever you are your commitment to nonviolence. And I would recognize that this is going to be a really big and beautiful event for us, and you don't want to miss out.
Great. Christine's got a specific question about Congress and this militarization that we're seeing in LA and elsewhere. What can Congress do about illegal deployment of military on American soil? Look, Congress can do a whole bunch. Congress has vast powers, and also basically no Republicans are willing to use their power in order to stand up to Trump. What we would like to see is for more Republicans to understand that Trump is overplaying his hand right now. The polling on Trump's military parade is horrendous.
Awful.
Horrendous. There is essentially no support. I mean, except for the hardest of the hardcore MAGA types, there's basically no support for wasting $50 to $100 million. And you see some bland response from some of these Republican senators when asked, and they say, well, that's not how I would spend the money, but he's president. I mean, that's like the level of criticism that we see from Republicans. So if we're waiting for Republicans to see the light of day, we're going to be waiting in Congress. I mean, we're going to be waiting for quite some time. On the Democratic side, we could see Democrats, I don't know, stop voting for crypto bills that help Trump line his pockets and start actually using the authority they have to fight back. Right now, Trump is terrorizing LA. He's using ICE to terrorize LA, to break up families, and to spread fear and terror. That's what he's doing. He is simultaneously, with the help of Republicans in Congress, pushing forward a reconciliation bill to give billions upon billions of more dollars to ICE so they can terrorize more communities. This thing that we're seeing in LA right now is a rehearsal. It is a rehearsal for an overall nationwide campaign. And the rehearsal, they have enough money for the rehearsal. They don't currently have enough money for the full show. They are asking Congress for that money. And right now, you will not find a Republican in Congress who says, well, I don't know about what ICE is doing in LA. Do we really want to give them more money? That opposition does not exist right now. And they should answer for that. So if you're looking for what Congress can do, Congress is the most powerful branch of government we have. There's a whole hell of a lot they could do, but it requires them to actually answer their constituents and respond to the moment we're in instead of just acting like it's not happening. So we should hold
I have an
Republicans
additional.
accountable,
Oh, sorry.
and we should push the Democrats to actually fight back on this ground. Leah?
I have an additional comment on that specifically, which is that I think we have seen, I mean, this is probably not a shock to anybody. A lot of Democrats have basically been interacting with any issue that touches immigration as if they need to run for the hills since the election. We saw this with the Lincoln Riley Act back in January. We saw this with some of the instinctive reactions to the sending of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and a bunch of other innocent men to El Salvador, to a torture prison. We have seen this in as ICE raids are escalating. There's just a set of people who believe that anything on this they cannot win on, and so they just try to run as far away as they can, and that is strategically and morally like absolutely wrong. We collectively, like, people don't want their neighbors grabbed off the street with their kids in the car. They don't want that. That's crazy. That's horrible. People, like, anyways, we can win that politically. We will win that morally, and we can win that politically. People do not want people deported, or sorry, deported actually implies some kind of process. People do not want their neighbors kidnapped and sent to a foreign torture prison without due process. These are completely, like, they're both issues that it's important for us to fight on because, again, attacks on immigrants form the kind of backbone for the authoritarian attacks that are coming for everyone else. It's also just important because we believe in universal human rights and human values. And like, it is completely winnable because they're doing insane, horrifying shit, and we can point that out. Sorry for the cursing. So I think we've still just got to get some set of these people to stop saying, oh, that's a distraction. What you really need to hear about is this thing that's not breaking through right now. We actually need to go to where some of the fire is and make our best case for why it is horrifying.
Shout out to Chris Van Hollen. Chris Van Hollen, whose constituent, Abrego Garcia, was abducted. He did not listen to the conventional wisdom in Democratic circles, and instead he went there. He went to El Salvador, and now it's conventional wisdom that, of course, it was smart to go there. And every Democrat wants to be seen going there. That shifted because he took the bold, courageous, morally correct stance, and lo and behold, it turned into the politically advantageous stance as well. So just plus one. I don't want to give the sense that Democrats are all laying down,
Right.
are all
Right.
rolling over and playing dead. That's not happening. We have fighters. We should encourage that fighter mentality. Deborah's got a question on martial law, and it's kind of a practical, what's the best way for all to communicate if martial law is invoked? Will it disturb communications if they want? Do we need to make a plan to meet up if we can't communicate with one another? Leah, so my
Yeah.
instinct here is to say, look, folks, we should prepare for a lot of scenarios. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we're not going to see this kind of escalation. And also, I do think there's some tendency to get too far down the rabbit hole and play the game too many steps ahead. We should not act as if martial law is right around the corner and they're going to crack down on communication right around the corner. We do not live in a dystopian hellscape. Not yet. They are saber rattling. They are coming at us. But if you look at the streets in LA, people are having picnics, people are going around town, people are living their lives. He wants us to think he is all powerful and he is sowing discord everywhere. And he might get there, don't get me wrong. But to make preparations and to spend our limited time focused on what could happen several moments down the line, I think is a misuse of our limited resources right now. I think we should focus on the fight directly in front of us. And if things get worse, let's continue to build the organizing apparatus and communications apparatus we need. But it's not, I don't want to push away your comment, Deborah, but my instinct here is to try to focus attention instead on the immediate challenges in front of us.
Can we go to Porter Kelly's question? It's I see it in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
I think it raises some important things that we want to be sure to cover with folks
Sure.
here.
Okay, and we'll bounce back up. Okay, Porter Kelly asks, I'm in LA and some people are saying we should bring flags from all different countries on Saturdays to show that our city is multicultural, but I agree with the people who say we should only bring American flags so the optics are clear to the whole country world, if when there are classes with ICE, Marines, National Guard, etc. That it's Americans attacking other Americans. Do you agree? I was planning on bringing some extra American flags to pass out.
Okay, so I want to like call it time because I've seen some pretty screwy stuff on this circulating online. Here's what I would say. We are affirmatively in favor of people who want to have American flags, carrying American flags. We have shipped a bunch of American flags out to support folks at protests, in having those on hand, in really making clear we believe affirmatively in reclaiming the American flag.
we are coming out for American values, and we should not be ashamed of that. And also, like, what I would say is that there's a pretty problematic discourse circulating around kind of Mexican flags in particular. And if you are like, if you would not be alarmed by an Irish flag in like a bar in Boston, then like you should also understand the importance of like a Mexican flag in Los Angeles. And we want to be creating a culture and a space where everybody can be proud of their heritage and proud of being together as Americans. And so I would say, like, we're in flags for everyone. Everyone have some flags. This is great. Bring your flag from your country or your country of origin. Bring your flag, your rainbow flag. Bring your Black Lives Matter flag. Bring your American flag. Flags for everyone. We are good. Let's not be exclusionary about this.
Agree. I do think that, just to underline your point, we are intentionally um, emphasizing the patriotic element of this protest. Hands
Oh,
off
and your
what
Ukrainian flag. Sorry, that's in the chat. And
uh,
your Palestine flag.
hands off was boisterous and patriotic in its own right. It wasn't though Flag Day. It wasn't the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Continental Army to push back on a mad king back then. So there is an opportunity right now to reclaim patriotism, to demonstrate what American values are that we're standing up for. And we shouldn't shy away from that. We really shouldn't. We shouldn't see the narrative grounded Trump and the MAGA Republicans. They would like to be perceived as standing for real America. Bullshit. Bullshit. Real America is not abducting Americans and sending them out to an El Salvador gulag. That is not what American values are. In fact, the most American thing since apple pie is standing up peacefully with your fellow Americans to demonstrate your First Amendment rights. That's what we're doing. And we should embrace that messaging in how we show up, in how we orchestrate the speeches, in the entire day. We want that message coming out that Trump wants to be a king, the most un-American thing you can be, and the people are demonstrating what America actually looks like. So hopefully that iconography breaks through over the course of the day. Bumping back up to Tim's question at the top, is it still safe to protest downtown LA Saturday given the military presence? This was a question that came up. We did a statewide Indivisible call with California groups last night. So this is a question that came up too. Leah, do you want to cover our discussion there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I guess what I would say is the short version is we want folks who are attending protests anywhere to be conscious of the dynamics, conscious of the surroundings. There are going to be multiple protests in Los Angeles. There is a downtown Los Angeles one. There are protests in the suburbs. It's totally fine to go to the one that meets your comfort level. We are in touch with the folks in Los Angeles around, around that protest. So really, I think it's just kind of making a decision about your own comfort level there.
Melissa asks, why aren't we demanding emergency hearings to investigate the conduct of ICE, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, as well as the legality of deploying troops on American soil against civilians without proper authority and oversight? I think we should. I think this hits on the accountability agenda to follow. I don't think we should give Elon Musk a pass just because he tweets a few negative things about Trump. I don't think anybody that commits crimes under this administration should be let off the hook. And I think it should become a fait accompli that when Democrats retake the House, these investigations are coming. And from now until then, Republicans who are squishy on these committees should feel the pressure to actually exercise some of their responsibility and provide this oversight. Do I think it will happen as long as MAGA Mike Johnson controls the House of Representatives? No way in hell. He is not going to agree in any sort of oversight over Trump. Does that mean we shouldn't push them on it? No. They should be forced to answer for their lack of accountability, for goose stepping behind Donald Trump. But we should be real. Demanding emergency hearings for MAGA Mike Johnson will result in maybe him getting some questions, but no action from him. Leah, anything on that, or go to Adam's question? Okay.
I think we're good.
Adam asks, I love that people are being encouraged to share dancing and such at protests. Understand that we do not want to encourage violence, yet there will be violence, given that most media will focus on the quote unquote spectacle. What are your thoughts on encouraging Indivisible chapters to create a group within their chapter dedicated to engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience? I think nonviolent people sitting and holding American flags while police accost and arrest them would be picked up by media and would highlight where violence is coming from and who is protesting, not immigrants, not people who hate America, not violent looters. Can I just push on one point here? We held 1,300 protests
Yeah.
in every single state, including multiple countries as well, on Hands Off Day, and there was not a single incidents of violence or property destruction reported. 1,300 events. Now, we're going to increase the number for No King's Day, but I would not simply assume there's going to be violence. Our protests are going to be peaceful, and I think we should prepare for the worst, but my assumption is not that there is going to be overreach and from the other side that they're going to incite violence at these protests. I think these events can be boisterous and happy and joyful with dancing and singing and humor. That's in fact our goal. Now, with that said, I think you're asking a question about if they do instigate some kind of violence, if there are folks disrupting, how can we best respond to that, both for the safety of the members, but also to send the right message? Leah, do you have specific responses to that subset of the question or push back on what I said?
Yeah, so here's what I'd say. I think right now we are focused on No Kings and what it takes to make No King successful. We are thinking about how do we keep that energy going? How do we give people further on-ramps training, like thinking for the about the moment that we're in? You know, as I unpack that stuff around that up top around what does it mean to be in this period of autocratic breakthrough, there's a lot that flows from that we got to get into collectively as a movement to get those kind of underpinnings around what does it mean to be thinking about all this, about the tactics and about the strategies there. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I want us focused right now on making No King's Day as big, as popular, as powerful as possible. And I really believe that I know the folks on this call are working incredibly hard on that in like every single corner of the country. And yeah, I just have a lot of appreciation for you.
Okay, we're at time, so I'm going to give a couple of to-dos coming out of this, practical to-dos. Obviously, there's something coming up on Saturday. We hope everybody here attends, but don't wait until Saturday. So a couple of things. One, there is a training tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're working with partners. Mobilize was down for a while today. It's up now. So if you have not yet registered, you can register for it. Please come. We're going to be talking about the game plan for tomorrow, have some practical advice, pass on some resources. That's one. Two, while we want you to come on Saturday, we also need your help spreading the word. If you have not yet told anybody that you are going to your No Kings protest, if you haven't gotten out of your comfort zone a little and maybe made some more public demonstration that you're going, posted to your Facebook or to your Blue Sky or called your grandma to let her know, whatever it is, if you haven't done that, challenge yourself. Try to get the word out. The way this is going to spread like wildfire is mainly through word of mouth, through the work that you all are doing. Please do some of that work. And third, I want everybody to take a breath. We're living through a time of autocratic breakthrough. We're living through this moment where anybody on this call could make the choice to hide, to stay on the couch, to not engage. And what we know from the experts in authoritarianism, from fights against autocratic breakthroughs the world over, is that that's how the authoritarians win. We know that this moment is not riskless. We know that there is reason to have fear. And we also know that you all are here and that we are here together talking about how a diverse group of millions of people through organized peaceful action can safeguard American democracy at a moment when it is under threat. And we are all making the choice actively to take on risk, not just for ourselves, but for the broader community. And that's what works. That's what works. So thank you for being part of this movement. We are honored to be in this with you. And we're going to see you out in the streets and have a real good time doing it. We will see you next Wednesday, not next Thursday, because next Thursday is Juneteenth. We'll see you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And before then, if you join us, we'll see you tonight at 8 p.m., or we'll see you in the streets on Saturday, or we'll see you Monday night for the follow-up call about what comes next. Until then, everybody, we'll see you in the streets. Bye.
Yeah.